Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 535 of the DrunkNerds podcast. As always, I'm Tyler. And joining me, we have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Colonel Gables. What's up, buddy?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. After tonight, after watching the Royal Rumble, I'm actually feeling pretty good right now. Obviously, I had to make a couple things of coffee in order
Yeah,
to try to get things going.
yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah. It's good. Looks like a cup of Joe.
yeah, I know, right?
That's going. Yeah,
I'll,
can't. Yep. It's dangerous. Don't go alone. Drink this. Yes, it's the Zelda NES one
but
for audio listeners.
yes, yes, I'm just showing Tyler my
I
new
noticed.
coffee mug that I had actually picked up at Ross like weeks back, and I'm like, oh, I can actually drink this during the recording. And other than that, man, yeah, Royal Rumble was absolutely fantastic. Loved it from start to finish. But I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, work stuff's been going all right, even though there were some crazy moments going through there. But it's just a bunch of the same old crap that keeps happening in regards to like it being close to a full moon and like all the craziness of the junkies and all this shit that's going around the neighborhood. But I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Tyler?
Doing okay as well. I also had to make some coffee. I made some after the second and third match of the Royal Rumble. There's nothing better when wrestling is good. Like great wrestling is like peak everything,
Mm-hmm.
um, and as far as entertainment goes. But the worst thing for boring wrestling maybe is the worst thing in all of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the both sides of the equation on this one. Sorry, it's like 12:15 now. And we just start recording, and yeah, so I'm a little tired, but I made 3 cups because otherwise I was not gonna make it. I feel like almost like um, I'm midday into extra life right now. Like that's kind of where I'm at, where it's like you're hitting that midnight oil, where like you drink some caffeine, but it's still pretty tired. But no, I'm doing okay. It's been a long week, but we are here. It's the weekend. We had overall the Royal Rumble was really good. It's always I think it's most wrestling fans' favorite show of the year, and man, it sucks when it's bad. Like last year's was awful. This year's was maybe one of the best ones, I would say.
I
Um,
agree.
for as far as like the big matches. So that was cool. Enjoying that obviously, and we had Cody winning the Rumble, Rhea winning the Rumble, and then Sammy finally turning on Roman. So that was pretty fucking sweet.
Mm.
Um, but Gables, you know what else is pretty fucking sweet?
What?
Look at this bitch right here. Find your
Find your
fight.
fight.
Uh,
Oh, oh.
Forspoken cards, man. I haven't opened these yet. I've been waiting. So for audio listeners, I apologize. The pre-order bonus for Forspoken, they give us cards. Uh,
They give you trading
yeah.
cards?
Oh wait, what the fuck are these? It's an NFT, Gables. No.
Oh,
That'd be fucking funny though if it was.
I don't
uh,
know why that's so funny to me, but
it's like
just going
somehow
through the fucking like NFT
somehow I lost money in this equation. Uh, but what the fuck are these? These are like thick though. I mean, these are pretty salt. These are pretty thick cards. I got Frey.
Sure, it's not. You sure it's not like a hotel card? Here you go.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it is. I gotta like find the room. I got Cuff. There's literally a trading card for the Cuff.
Oh, there you go.
Then I'm assuming that's the villain. Uh, Tan- Tan- Tanta? Tantasila? I don't know. Whatever. Anyways, I got some cards, and I guess looks like there's some stands here to put the cards on. So I got those. That's pretty exciting, Gables. Um,
Okay.
so pretty exciting purchase overall. I've yet to play the game though. Um, but I'm saving. I got not this week, but next week I am on vacation for the week.
There
Um,
you go.
and with my work, we gotta like book all our vacation a year in advance. So I don't got anything to do. It's fucking cold as shit. So it's winter in Iowa. So I'm saving stuff up. So I got that. But I also made another purchase though. I
Yeah.
went Friday and I picked up my copy of Dead Space. So
There you go.
yeah. So I got the number one and number two game of the year. Who's to say number one is though? Um, you'll never know. You'll find out in December. uh, but no, I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right though. Otherwise, I'm starting to wake up a little bit here. Maybe it's because I am on my this is my second or third beer, so I don't know. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, other than that, I'm doing okay. But Gables, we are not
Yeah.
here to talk about Forspoken. Well, we're kind of here to talk about like, Forspoken, I guess. But we're not here to talk about the Rumble and what the fuck's going on and weird shit I got from GameStop. We're here to talk about video games. Before we do that,
Yes.
um, if you're liking this, you're enjoying this, please look down the description down below. See links to all of our socials. We're available. We're all podcasts are available. We're on YouTube. So if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like button. It's over there by Gables Junk Area. Makes them happy if you hit that button. If you're on Apple or Spotify or wherever, give us a 5 star. Leave us a comment. Share with your friends. If you see like Twitter or Facebook, you see us on there, like us, follow us on there, and retweet, shares, likes, all that. The more you guys do that, the more it helps us out. We would appreciate it if you did that for us. Um, but Gables,
Hmm.
should we get into the news?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it, Gables. All right, so pretty big week. We've had a pretty good start to the year, I would say. Um, this week we had the Xbox and Bethesda Developer Direct. I did a live reacts to it on Wednesday, so that was pretty fun. It was about 43 minutes, I believe, was the show length of it. Is what they said.
Yes.
I was only supposed to announce 4 games, so they announced five, so that was pretty cool. Um, but the big thing I said going into it was like we just need dates at this point. No more, like coming soon's or give us like, hey, it's spring or first half of the year. Like we need to start seeing some dates here and start seeing like concrete evidence of like this shit's like this isn't like what the fuck's that fucking PlayStation game that was fake. Um, Everybody thought was the Kojima game.
Oh, well, I think I understand
Yeah,
which one you were
God
talking
damn it.
about.
Yeah. Anyways, that game, that was not real. But anyways, we that actually happened, Gables. I'm just gonna go and we'll just go in reverse order here. Or not really reverse order. I'm just gonna start. I'm using the IGN article here, and they didn't put it in order of the show. But starting off here, Redfall, the co-op vampire shooter from Arcane Austin, is coming May 2nd. With that date leaked, probably about a month ago. It's been rumored for a while. It's gonna be in May. But that date leaked a little while back, and it confirmed to be the case. Some of the dates actually leaked before the show, and the Shadow Drop game also the title of the game leaked before the show as well. So, but we got about maybe about 8-10 minutes of gameplay jumping around. We got to see like the hive mind. We got to see like some of the open world stuff, and they were showing off like the safe houses and everything like that. Um, Kind of showed like, hey, it's single player, but it's also you can play up to 4 people. You can take on um, situations in multiple ways, kind of like you would expect from an arcade game, looking at like Dishonored and Deathloop. But I don't know, Gibbs, about you, but I feel like I came away with more questions than answers after this.
Yep.
And I feel like every time I see that game, I have more questions than answers. And not, it's not inherently negative, but I'm just like, I don't know, maybe if you feel the same way, Gibbles, but I'm like, what is this game exactly still? I don't know. How are you feeling after you're looking at Redfall here?
After seeing the footage of Redfall over this past week, I feel like that there's a couple different things that kind of muddy the whole presentation of what they were doing. One is the focus upon what the game is exactly. That was partially what I was thinking of because for one point, it seems like something from the mid to late 2000s in regards to the overall the overall first person shooter style, that kind of squad based sort of thing,
Yeah.
kind of like how with Left 4 Dead, that's obviously type of thing. I know they were going forth, that Arcane Studios is going forth and trying to make it seem like it's sort of some aspects of it kind of remind me a little bit of Dishonored and stuff
Yeah.
like that in
Well,
terms
and they
of
specifically said
the mission style.
it's more like Far. They specifically exampled Far Cry 2.
Far Cry 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's not honestly. If you are going to model anything in regards to any type of Far Cry game and stuff, I probably wouldn't have modeled it after Far Cry 2,
Well, I
considering
more of like the
it's
systems
an
of
is.
the game than the
Well,
actual quality
yeah,
of the game. But yeah,
yeah, but
I don't think we're gonna get malaria. At least, hopefully not.
oh no, 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 no. But when I think of the structure of Far Cry 2 and stuff, if we're just talking about the overall like things like the menus or like all the other type of structures from that game, I mean, I could see it somewhat, but another question that arised from looking at the gameplay in and of itself is like, is it supposed to be like just say a open world style game and then
They
just
said open
conquer
world.
each one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, open world game, okay. So we just have the initial spots, like the initial what, 5 spots or something like that, or more. It just
Yeah.
seemed like to me it's like they have these 5 major territories you got to capture from these warlords, but essentially in order to free up things to get to just try to contribute to get to the last big boss or something like that after. But other than that, though, it seems like it looks okay. But at the same point, it's like I really feel like that the way the game's been presented, it definitely feels like it's trying to do too much in some aspects. Like it doesn't have a concrete identity of what is this game. It's a lot of hodgepodge of a lot of other ideas from previous games that we've really liked, like say Left 4 Dead, games from the Far Cry series. I mean, obviously there were elements of it that kind of reminded me of like God, certain open world games other than like
Borderlands.
Far Cry. Sometimes maybe like Borderlands, but not so loot heavy with it.
Well, we saw like the loot, and they had the colored loot, and they had like all the like the numbers and shit like that. So I mean,
Okay, that's a fair point. Yeah, I could see the comparison to say like Borderlands in that aspect. But yeah, it feels like that it's trying to do a lot, but it doesn't excel inside of one key area, sort of say. It's like a jack of all trades but master of none sort of philosophy of
mm.
it. But that's what I kind of felt with that, though. What were your thoughts initially with Redfall?
uh, like I said, I'm still kind of like I have more questions I think than answers coming out of
Yeah.
this. You know, where like yeah, like I mentioned Borderlands. I kind of got like okay, it looks like Borderlands, but I still kind of get the Left 4 Dead vibe. But they've been fighting off for like 2 years now, a year and a half,
Hmm.
2 years now. It's been 2 years since they showed the game off, um, and so I get those vibes, and they like show like the Hive thing. Like that looks is that like a raid type of thing? They said single player, but like is that kind of like like you go underground and you gotta fight? Then there's like the vampire gods you gotta go and kill, and you gotta like collect the skulls or whatever to go and like fight the big, to like big gods at the end or whatever. Um, I I would just like I think more than anything like because the big thing of this one is they kept like jump cutting to different things. And, like they would show like the map, but it wouldn't like show like the overworld map. It would just show like an arrow moving to this location, instead of like and it's like all right, we're gonna cut to this spot now. So there's a lot of jump cuts to different interactions, different things. So it's like I would like to see like
Yeah,
25, 30 minutes of just like what you do, like uncut, just walking around. Like, is this open world or is this like open areas? Kind of like we talk about like Pokemon Legends Arceus. They talk about that being like it's an open world game, but really it was just like there's like big areas that you can roam around in. And that's
absolutely.
like
I feel like that they should have done in that aspect of having like a solid 25, maybe 30 minutes or so.
yeah. I mean, maybe not here, but like maybe like after the show or something like because they did like after the show they did like an Elder Scrolls Online thing. But like yeah, like I would like
Yeah,
maybe on its own, just like hey, we're gonna do a 20-minute presentation. It's just like here's what you do, moment to moment. I want to know what the moment to moment stuff of this game is like. They talk about like the safe houses. Well, I mean like or like safe houses as in like Left 4 Dead safe houses or like safe houses like in like Division or in like Destiny where like after the mission you go back to like the main like hub area and then like you go around you get all the loot you sell stuff you trade stuff in like you get new missions
yep,
like that's the kind of stuff I'm like all right what are we doing like in between stuff like are we is it open world like we're walking around and doing shit or is this like like that's what I mean like I want to know like I said, what are we doing moment to moment, not just like jump cutting to like like boss battles and like run around with your four friends and like I do like when they showed off like you going down the stairs and you have like a pistol, like a silenced pistol, and then like you could
yeah,
then you have like the little ghost like or the little robot dog thing that would go and like distract enemies and you can kill them. I like the idea of like there are like humans that basically work for the vampires, so they won't kill them. Like that's a
yeah,
cool concept actually. I like that. Um, so I would like I don't I think this game is still gonna be very good because I think Arcane makes pretty much only makes really good games. Um, but it just that's my thing is like is this like is like I said I just want to know like how games of servicey is this and how or is it like am I just looking at it totally wrong? Am I just being like kind of a pessimistic gamer here, where I'm just like finding negatives where there are none. But like yeah, like I said, I just want like a full blowout like thing for this. Like this was like I said, this is a 10-minute thing. I overall I liked the show a lot. But I just that's the one game like, and I'm happy this got like its own time. But like I would just like to see um, more from it. Like I said, just
Right.
no, I don't need like 2 hours. Just give me like, hey, here's how it works. We're just gonna show you. Here's 30 minutes uncut playable features. I want to see like what is a safe house? What are we doing at these safe houses? Um, or like are we going back to areas, or is this fully open world, or is these like open areas, stuff like that. That's what I want to know. But I'm still like, it's coming to Game Pass, so I'm gonna play it. May 2nd. But the thing is though, May 2nd, you got 10 days with me because 10 days later, um, we got Zelda. So you got
Yep.
10 days to hook me, or and like not just me, a lot of people. So
Yeah, because you're gonna get buried.
yeah. So I mean, once that one, I mean, yeah. Once the I don't know. Like I said, I'm just curious, but we can talk about that a little bit more later. Next up here we have Minecraft Legends. That is a it's PvP. They show off a bunch of that. It's like a um I don't know what like a strategy PvP game, kind of like a Command and Conquer almost style game. But they've got a release date for that. They announced this last E3 or not E3, whatever games is what the fuck's that thing? The Jeff Keighley thing in Summer Game Fest. They announced it there last
Yeah.
June. Um, got a release date April 18th. Showed a bunch of gameplay for this PvP. I think it's 4v4. With like you can every world is different. You got to build and attack other people and take over shit. So I don't know. Not a game for me. I've never played a second of Minecraft ever. The Minecraft Dungeons games always look kind of cool. Like I think I probably have a decent time with those. But I don't know, Gables. Was this doing anything for you?
Honestly, from looking at the gameplay and looking at some of the spots of it, it's like it gave me the impression of, yeah, this is really isn't my kind of game.
Yeah,
I mean, to be perfectly honest with you, I delved in maybe a couple of different details and regarding the game, but I overall kind of felt the same about it to where, okay, it's Minecraft, it's all right, but at the same point, it's like I really don't have any interest, and unfortunately, I don't have too much of an opinion whether or not if I would like to play that or not.
yeah. I think same thing. It's a genre of it's a type of game that we're not into the IP, and we're not really into those type of games. So it's gonna be kind of makes it double hard
Yeah,
for us to really get too excited. But that I mean, I imagine that game's probably gonna be super popular because it's
yeah,
I mean they typically those like I said the Minecraft dungeon games review really well, and
absolutely
people
do.
really seem to
Yes.
like those, so they can do that again with this. I mean, good for them. Forza Motorsports, a lot of car stuff. They said a lot, but didn't really say a lot either.
Nope.
But I think it's just kind of the things that this is one of those things whenever like Forza or even like Gran Turismo and shit, like a lot of times these games show up there just like these games are like hardcore for car people. Like this for
Hmm.
them, these are simulation racing games. These are like there is a huge audience for these games. Um, but they kind of talk about like there's gonna be like a bigger. They're doing more work on the single player aspect of things because I think like I guess like from what I understand, like the last three, they did not have a good. For people that are like mostly play single player, there wasn't a good hook to keep playing the game, and I guess Gran Turismo 7, despite the issues with like the microtransactions, like there was actually like a really good hook there for the single player stuff and a good reason for people to come back. So I'm curious because like that's probably primarily what I'm gonna be playing. Like I think it'd be fun if like they had the Drivatar stuff. Like I love like Horizon. I know like initially Motorsports had it first, but I like the Drivatar stuff of like it just kind of uses your friends kind of how they drive and actually you play them in your game. I like that kind of stuff. I'm just kind of curious what that is because I mean like coming to Game Pass, so of course I'm gonna try it. I mean these things these are showpiece games. So they talk a lot about like it's gonna have ray tracing and 4K 60 frames per second. I imagine that's for the Series X though, not for my Series S. Um, they said there will be over 500 cars at launch, with over 100 new ones to the game, and then they're gonna probably add stuff later on as well. But no release date. Initially, this game was supposed to be spring 2023. There's been some rumors, murmurs, really not so much rumors, but like people have been hearing uh, mixed things from people saying that this game is probably going to be quarter 3, which would be what I guess it'd be July, August, September in that area. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, does it do anything for Gables?
Honestly, honestly, Forza Motorsports, yeah, it's always looked like a fun game. I'm not too much of a hardcore driving simulator person. I mean, I really love the arcadey style of racing games. I also really loved the Forza Horizon series because those were fun
Mm-hmm.
open world sort of drive fests to where you could just screw around inside of an open area and stuff and just have a lot of fun, wreck a lot of
Yeah,
havoc and stuff, get chased by people, or you're just chasing different things to
racing on an airplane.
secure different cars and stuff. But as far as this game concern is, I don't care what else they talk about in regards to this game. They have to have a concrete release
Yeah,
date at this point because they've initially went through their spiel with it. They've introduced the game. There's more footage about what we see, which is kind of like what they've done in years past, to where okay, there's this looking car that's looking like this. It's a good showpiece and stuff. You always know whenever you always know in video games whenever like they show like some sort of car game or something like that, they try to make the appeal of it. Oh, this cannot look any better unless
yeah,
you play it on this system, and then you have all these like luxurious cars and stuff like that and this and that. But in regards to the whole Forza Motorsport stuff, I mean, I would I would just guess that we're probably going to hear the release date of it probably around time of June, around the E3 or like the Summer Games
yeah,
Fest time.
yeah,
I mean, that makes the most sense with that. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it just releases in fall because just to space things out in regards to what other major releases are going to be happening during the summer months,
yeah.
especially with with Zelda.
True. Yeah, I mean, like you look at like the first half of the year for just Xbox, where we got
Mm.
we're gonna talk about next year, Hi-Fi Rush, out now. April,
Hmm.
we got Minecraft. May, we got Redfall. June, there's the Elder Scrolls. We know isn't for everybody, but that's still a big deal for a lot of people. Um, that's a pretty solid first half of the year, and then it's like it it's not a bad. Obviously, delays it as a gamer is like, yeah, you just want to play the game, but obviously you want the games to come out and be good. So like
Yeah,
yeah, like if the games get delayed, that's fine. But it's weird like in this event, like you don't say something, or like maybe you don't want to say it in this because you don't want to put a downer in like this fun hype event. But like maybe like later on, like it just felt like a like kind of like a shadow delay. Um, where like and I think if it's gonna get delayed, and maybe they just don't know, maybe they still think it could be June. But like I feel like this, if like if it's not gonna be out in the first half of the year, you gotta say something about it before the game the press conference in June, because I mean this is a game that they're gonna want bigger marketing for because these games still sell extremely well. And Forza Horizon 5, even though it was on Game Pass
yeah,
day one, was still one of the top 20 selling games of the year in 2021. Despite that, because they have like they do the big like $100 bundles that come with all the bunch of extra shit, and you get the game 3 days early. And then, I bet this can be the same thing for this game. Like, there's a huge audience for that stuff. It's because people were talking about like, oh, maybe shadow dropping, and I'm like, no, like these games are huge sellers, um, despite being on Game Pass. So I don't see that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, like if it gets delayed, it gets delayed. It's whatever. Starfield gets delayed, it gets delayed. It's whatever. I mean, and like yeah, if they're looking at the second half of their year, and it's like we don't want to go another holiday with nothing, and we don't want to rush something out to just fill a date, and then the game like we get another Halo Infinite situation here. Like if Hellblade isn't ready, or I mean, I doubt Fable's anywhere near ready. But like if nothing like coming like the next Coalition game isn't ready. Um, and that's the Coalition game is supposed to be a small game too, so it's not even a big deal. Or it's not to say it's not a big deal, but it's not like it's not Gear 6. Um, so yeah, maybe like hey, let's delay it. I'm sure these teams can always use more time, and maybe they actually do need more time. It's like let's fill out. Yeah, let's put fucking. I mean, we see you can put games out whenever now and they'll sell. Put yeah, put fucking Forza in late summer, September or whatever, and then put Starfield in Do 11/11/23. Just do it a year later. And you know what? As long as the game comes out and it's good, people won't care. Um, so yeah, but let's move on to the I think the game that stole the show for everybody. This was a game that, like I said, Tingle GameWorks. This game kind of was like being talked about a couple days ahead of time. The Hi-Fi Rush was the name we kept hearing, and there was some like some stuff about it was a smaller game, and there were some murmurs out there about with Jet Set Radio stuff and things like
Hmm.
that, and yeah, so the trailer start off. It's very anime. It's a rhythm. Someone said it's DMC to the beat, Devil May Cry to the beat. Uh, the best analogy I heard was Elite beat 'em up agents, uh, which was very good. Um,
I kind of think of it as a mix between Devil May Cry and Guitar Man because it's like you basically have like the Devil May Cry sort of gameplay and action elements and stuff, but you also have like the rhythm based sort of like precision timing of the beats and stuff. But yeah.
yeah. Admittedly, when it started off, and they did like the whole um, record scratch. Yeah, that's me. I guess you're wondering how I got here. I'm like, wow, we're still doing this in 2023. Um,
Uh,
and I was like, oh no. And then they started like showing it, like when they started showing more gameplay and showing like the music. I'm like, oh okay. And like I think me, just like probably everybody else, had that same moment of like, oh god, that record scratch. Oh no, this is gonna be bad. And then like by the end of that, we're like blown away. Can't wait to play this. And not only this is the studio that made Evil Within 1 and 2 and Ghostwire Tokyo. Like two of
mhm.
those three games I love. Ghostwire Tokyo is the most 7 out of 7 I've ever played. It is the perfect 7 out of 10 7 out of 10 game ever made. Um, but that studio made this game. And not only
Mm.
announced it, the game looks amazing. Apparently, it is amazing. I haven't yet to play it. I'm once again saving that for my vacation next week. Um, but to like, and then also on top of that, to announce later today, and it's well later today on Wednesday, and it was out within like an hour of the after the event. Um, just huge. I think this is like people were saying like this is a great game. This is like maybe this game that's hard to market, and it's like one of those things where it's like it's getting kind of get kicked a little bit because like oh Xbox finally putting a game out, but oh it's just a smaller rhythm action game, whatever, and we all kind of downplay it. Um, so I think this coming out having a like badass fucking trailer for this game, and then hey, it's out in like an hour. Play it on Game Pass. Um, yeah, I'm blown away. I can't wait to play this. I got it downloaded. But I mean, it looks. I thought it looks fantastic. You got the Black Keys in there as well. Black Keys, top three favorite bands. So I'm all in. What about you, Gibbs?
Absolutely, this was a shock. Obviously, when it came to the makers here for like The Evil Within 1 and 2, plus like Ghostwire Tokyo and stuff, it's like seeing this coming out from them, this is entirely out of left
Yeah,
field for them. I mean, this is something entirely different. They're more akin to putting out like horror, survival horror style like games or just horror themed games, and all of a sudden you have this bright, colorful like anime inspired like it's pretty much like the like Japan's version of like an Americanized sort of like anime, sort of like cartoon in this sort of state. It's like what I do like about it, I love the visual style from the gameplay that I've watched, not just from the initial conference from Microsoft though, but from other gamers playing it, like say Maximilian Dude from a little bit this past week, and like from like Bob Wolf, like from YouTube and Twitch and stuff. It looks absolutely fun. It looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, the pacing of it seems fine. The whole element of the game itself feels not feels, but it looks like it's entirely smooth. You cannot hardly see any type of hiccups. Everything in this game matches with the beat
yeah.
inside of what the music and stuff. Everything ties into the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I cannot remember a game being announced and then released that same day in the span of like a major conference like this. Another thing that's cool about this game, it's cheaper than the normal
It's 30
like
bucks.
full
Yeah.
on. It's 30
Yeah.
bucks. That is a appealing price in order to try to delve into something and kind of different in regards to what Microsoft is akin to putting out. Granted, this is sort of like what some people would compare to, like, say, a Sunset Overdrive meets sort of like a Devil May Cry sort of S type of
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
somewhat look like that. But I absolutely love what this game does. And I also love the fact that the English VAs are closely akin to like some of the voice actors from the Persona games that I've played, like Persona
Oh
5 and
well,
stuff.
I'm gonna uninstall the game after this now.
But that one was the best. That announcement plus that reveal was probably the best out of that entire thing because that was a major surprise. It was the mystery fifth game out of like the four games that we were initially going to
Yeah.
see. And honestly, it was the sleeper hit of the
Yeah.
show.
I mean, I think this being here, I mean, I thought the show overall was very good, and it just kind of flew. Like even like yeah, there was a couple of like really I was there for Redfall, like because Forza I'm gonna definitely try out. Um, I don't Elder Scrolls Online. I don't think that's not for us. Minecraft Legends not really for us. Um, but I think for a lot of people this was like yeah the show stealer and also just like I don't like did not expect it because they said like here's the four games we're focusing on. But yeah, I thought that was awesome. I thought the show as a whole was really good. I was never really bored. Kind of just like that 43 minutes just kind of flew by, even though like they were like sticking with, um, like like I said, like 5 games in like 40 minutes. But the way it was edited and shot, I loved like the developers talking. Like I loved like, like they're doing their own style. Like if they don't want to do a direct, but they don't want to like full on, kind of like how like PlayStation and EA Play and like Square Enix is basically just copied the Nintendo Direct formula, which copy away because I've been saying for years I love it. Uh, but to like put your own twist on it, I thought I liked this a lot. I thought like the way that they're cutting between like talking to different people, developers on the teams, like I like that a lot. And then like them giving a chance to talk about what they wanted. It wasn't just sitting down on a couch with like with somebody giving them canned questions, like an interviewer, giving them a canned questions, and then they have the canned response. Like it felt like they were very natural. Like there are like key people working on it. The guy that there was like in the Hi-Fi Rush, like apparently this was like his passion project they got to make, and they
Oh
got to make
wow.
it because of Game Pass. And we've been hearing that with like Grounded and Pentiment that finally came out 1.0 last year. Grounded and Pentiment that came out, like those are passion projects. And I can't remember the name the guy that did Pentiment, but he's the guy that directed Fallout New Vegas. Um,
Oh, wow.
he talked about like if it wasn't for Game Pass, Pentiment like that's been a project he's been wanting to do for years. And if it wasn't for Game Pass, that game never would have happened, especially from a big studio, from a big
Hmm.
company. Um, so it's like, yeah, like I mean, if you want to talk about like the goods of Game Pass, not only we're getting like these big games day one, and like obviously indie games stuff like that, but like games that couldn't exist before, that these big studios wouldn't like. We're not gonna like we're Bethesda or we're Xbox. We're not gonna do this. Like those things can exist now. Kind of like Coalition got to do with when they made Gears of War a High Buster a couple years ago. Like those things wouldn't have existed if it was for Game Pass. It's like yeah, like I mean, there's a reason why we call it the best deal in gaming, and it's not just because it's $15 a month and there's a bunch of great games on there. It's like because I mean this is just more you're adding more fun, cool ways to like enjoy the service. But I thought, like I said, overall, I thought the show itself was really good. Um, I give it like an 8 out of 10. Like even though like yeah, like I said, like 2 of the 5 games are really only like I don't really care about 2 of the 5, but I thought over like I said, I watched it live. Same with you. Like if I was watching like if I was just watching on my couch, I definitely would have fast forward through half of that event. But like I said, I can't
Hmm.
wait. I was enjoyed by it. I thought it was entertaining. I liked listening to the developers talk about the games. They seem
Right.
genuinely excited about them. So yeah, like I said, 8 out of 10. Gables, what about you?
Yeah, I kind of felt like that it was a solid experience. Obviously, it was sort of hit and miss with me because, like what you were saying and stuff, I only was really interested inside of maybe one or two at
Yeah,
most. I was obviously Hi-Fi Rush being the most interesting part about it. Then the Forza stuff was okay and stuff. Maybe not so much interested in Redfall and the Minecraft stuff, but I would definitely give that like a solid 7 out
yeah.
of 10.
Yeah, so I hope they keep doing this. Like I keep saying, like I I like them because like the big problem is like they announce a lot of cool stuff at these like at the E3 and stuff. Like they have really good press conferences. The last three have been amazing. Like and it's
Mm.
not just like because for years like the like second half of the Xbox One generation, they'd have like good shows, but they were like third party filled shows. Where it's like, hey, here's
Yep.
Cyberpunk, here's Metro, here's all these games that keep showing off. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, these are coming everywhere, but you're just showing the trailer at your event, which helps, I guess. But it's like these are not first party deals. And the last three, they've really focused on, like selling Game Pass, selling the Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought they've done a really good job. And they also show off a lot of like, yeah, these games will come to other services, but like, hey, they're coming to Game Pass day one, like Hollow Knight, Replaced, Somerville, shit like that. Like these bigger indie games, it's like the problem is that they show them off and then we don't hear about them until the next E3 or whatever. Maybe there's like I said, there's a tweet or like a blog post, but it's like gamers, like more casual gamers, people that don't listen to podcasts like we do, or read,
Mm-hmm.
go on gaming Twitter or read actually go on like IGN or GameSpot or watch YouTube shit like that. Like we pay attention. We know when the shit's like we see that stuff when like the blog post announcements happen. But like day to day gamers that just they don't care like that people that aren't listening to podcasts, they don't know they don't remember those games that get shown off. Like they just
No.
so like I want them to keep doing this. Like, hey, here's some reminders on some of these. Like, yeah, if we can get Hi-Fi Rush, if we can get like they do another one and we get dates for like Replaced and we get dates for these things, or like we keep reminding you, hey, these smaller games exist, and just make it so we can't not think about them. Can't not think about them. Does that make sense? Whatever, makes sense to me. My brain. I'm sorry, I got a little bit of cold, so and I'm tired. But yeah, I love this event. I like what they're doing here, and I hope they keep doing it. But Gables, let's move on. Um,
Okay.
so Neil Druckmann did an interview the other day, and they kind of talk about the future of like what they're gonna do next at Naughty Dog, and he talked about like Last of Us and stuff like that, and someone brought up the question about Uncharted, and he mentioned that Naughty Dog is done with Uncharted. Um, so some of the stuff come out here. He said, I know there's a bunch of people wondering about Last of Us Part 3 and whether that will be a thing or not. All I could say is at Naughty Dog, we're very, very privileged that our publisher is Sony, which means Sony funds our game, supports us, and we're owned by Sony. They have supported us every step of the way to follow our passions, meaning that just because something is successful, people think there's all this pressure we have to make a sequel. That's not the case. For us, Uncharted was insanely successful. Uncharted 4 was one of our best-selling games, and we're able to put our final brushstrokes on that story and say that we are done. We're moving on. He said the same. Like he's like, likewise, Last of Us. It's up to us whether we want to continue or not. He said if there's a story they want to tell with Last of Us, they'll do it. If not, they'll move on. And that's kind of the thing we've always heard is kind of like Naughty Dog can kind of do what they want. We heard about like the stuff that happened, like the Last of Us Part One remake, where they Sony or PlayStation created that San Diego visual arts studio, I think is what they're called, and that they were going to do an Uncharted remake, and then like, well, no, it'd be like we just want you guys to like work together, cohesion, make a game, put it out faster. And instead, they're like, all right, remake. They were basically told remake Last of Us, and then Naughty Dog's like, well, no, 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 we'll remake that. You guys can help us do it. And there's been some rumors that like initially that visual arts studio was supposed to remake Uncharted or Last of Us, and then move on, and that would be like them like put a game out, and then you guys move on. Okay, you work together. Now you're gonna make Uncharted. And we've heard some rumors that different studios are potentially working on like Uncharted sequels or we don't prequels, whatever. We just Uncharted the next Uncharted game, and it sounds like there's been some talks that like maybe Naughty Dog will be there to kind of help with like the story and ideas stuff like that, but they're like very hands off with it. That's kind of the rumors. Take it with a grain of salt, obviously. But I don't know. It was like we've talked about a lot, like like that was Uncharted 4 was your game of the year in 2016. It was my number
Mm-hmm.
two game of the year. I think Uncharted is probably both. If we had to make a top 10 list for our favorite franchises, we'd probably both have Uncharted
Mm-hmm.
in that list.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I thought the way Uncharted 4 ended was like perfect. Um,
Yep.
but like at the same time, it's like it's still really good, so you want more of it, you know. Even though they nailed the ending. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how you feel about the fact that like maybe Naughty Dog apparently is done with it, and some other studio is gonna be is potentially being taking over the reins on it.
Well, I'm sad that they're going to go away from Uncharted as a series, but at the same time, they left on a high note with Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. At that same point, I mean, you're right when you're recovering in regards to explaining that they pretty much have free reign of what they can go through and do in regards to projects and stuff. And quite honestly, if Uncharted 4 is like the last Uncharted game, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, it's a fantastic game, absolutely great in a lot of different aspects of it. But yeah, you know what? I just really am not so inclined to see like another Uncharted game done by another company other than like say Naughty Dog, because it. I know there are some aspects like maybe some other companies like no some other like development studios that could take on the reign to do that stuff. I mean, the one I could think of the most though is with like Uncharted Golden Abyss. That one was a fun
That
game.
was
I
the
did play through in the
Days Gone
Vita.
studio.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
Ben
Sony.
Studios
Yeah,
that was Ben Studios that created that Uncharted game, and that was fairly fun. But in regards to other other developers within Sony, I mean, I pretty much would be sure that there would be at least a few that could make a decent Uncharted game if they chose to. But the overall possibility of it there being like another Uncharted game that not only would come out, but be in that type of echelon to where it'd be as good as, like, say, the four Uncharted games. I mean, it's kind of low, but at the same point, I kind of really just feel done with Uncharted right
yeah.
now.
Um, I mean, I replayed Uncharted 4 last year when they did like the PS5
Mhm.
upgrade thing, and I mean, it just fell in love all over again with that franchise. That the theme to the franchise is probably top five game themes to me. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's weird because it's definitely it's always that like it's a thin line that fans of us fans of things just in general, whether it's you're fans of a band or an athlete or whatever. It's kind of like when like an athlete retires when he's still like really good. It's like, why are you retiring? You're so good. And then they play then or like you see an athlete that plays like 2 years too long and it's just kind of sad. And it's just like
Mm.
that's kind of like the thin line we're on. Where like it's like Tom Brady retiring last year, when he like at one of his best years of his career, nearly brought his team back from a 24-point deficit in the playoffs, and like he retired, and everybody's like, dude, you're like 45 years old and you're still one of the best to do it. And then he came back this year, and it was kind of sad. It was this for even though he played really well, that team was just terrible, and it was his first losing season ever. And it's like, man, maybe he should have just stayed retired, and then also divorced and all that shit. So, but yeah, like it's a thin line, fans of things that we live on. Where we want you to go out on top, but we don't want to see you go when you're still good. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Like I think another studio can match the gameplay of it, of the game, but I think the storytelling and the characters um, is something that I don't know how many studios can do that aren't Naughty Dog. Like how well they treated them,
Mm.
how like, and then like like the biggest like concern was like if they continue on, if they go from like where Uncharted 4 left off, like I mean with Nathan Drake and Sully, um or is it a prequel, like they like what do we do there, like do we play it safe, go with the prequel even though like a lot of that there's not really a lot of story left to tell there. uh but I don't know, like if an Uncharted 5 happens, like will I be there day one? Most fucking likely, yeah, I will be. uh But yeah, like it would it would suck to see. Like I don't blame PlayStation for doing it because it's the fans. There's a lot of fans out there that want it. But yeah, I mean
Mm.
it's just it's a scary, like I said, it's a thin line that we're playing with here, and most things don't go out like looking great. They stay around too long, or they do one too many. Um, and yeah, I mean I think Uncharted 4 like I don't know another game franchise as of right now, you know, went out on a higher note than Uncharted 4. Um,
Yeah, really.
uh, but speaking of things that went on too long, Gables. It's about Far Cry.
Hmm.
Um, so apparently, so Far Cry 7 and Far Cry as a Far Cry multiplayer game in development. The titles were intended initially to be one game, but separated into
Yeah.
to become two separate projects early on in development. Far Cry
Oh,
7 is
jeez.
now internally referred to as Project Blackbird, whereas the multiplayer experience is known as Project Maverick. Both projects are believed to have heavily involvement from Ubisoft Montreal, which is like probably like their Ubisoft's like 1A development studio. But I
Okay.
think they're also making they got the Prince of Persia game as well. I think I can't remember. After they got because after it
Hmm.
got ripped away from the other studio, like I think they're the ones because they're the ones that initially made the game, the original Prince of Persia games. Um, Maverick, which is the multiplayer game, has changed numerous times in the past year or so. However, um, this is from Insider Gaming. They understand that the game is pitched as being set in the Alaskan wilderness and is currently an extraction-based shooter with mechanics such as permadeath, backpack systems, contracts, and more. But not much is known on the Far Cry 7, the single-player game, but could also be set in Alaska as well. Because, like I said, these were initially supposed to be the same game. Um, and there was after used Gamont after that email came leaked about him saying, telling the employees it's you guys got to like I fucked up, you guys got to fix it basically. um he kind of talked about in this interview about or in the Q&A session that leaked that they were going to like start doubling down on like their big IPs like like Far Cry and and like uh Ghost Recon stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, here we are.
Hmm.
You like, hey, maybe like that kick in the teeth they've had the last few weeks. You would think that like, they start changed. Obviously, these games it sounds like these games have been in development for a couple of years now. As of right now, like a soft release window is like fall of 2025. So these are definitely, like I said, these are nearly 3 years away at this point. Um, I don't know. I mean, but I mean that was a big thing that came out of it was like morale was kind of worse after the Q&A session because they're talking about like doubling down on the shit that like they've quite frankly been doubling down on uh, for really the last decade. So I don't
Yep.
know, like I've definitely fallen out after Far Cry 6. Really, Far Cry 5 was like after I put like 20 hours into that, and I was like, I'm not really having fun. I stopped and like I went back. I bought Far Cry 6, and I was like, giving it a shot. Far Cry 5 didn't work for me. Maybe it's the setting that didn't work for me. And then playing Far Cry 5, playing like for like 6 hours of Far Cry 6. I'm like, no, I think I'm just done with Far Cry. Um, I don't know, Gables. How are you feeling about this one?
To be perfectly honest with you, I think that the aspect of exploring like an Alaskan wilderness or something like that does have an interesting appeal to it because of how rural and how much different types of elements could play into
Yeah,
would like a factor into play, especially like the wildlife stuff and everything else. But at the same point, if we're looking at a game that could potentially come out, say like around 2024, maybe
2025,
2025,
probably
and
2026.
yeah, if it's still that fresh in regards to like still being under the development hood and stuff, it just kind of makes me wonder. It's like for Ubisoft and stuff, it's like I they have to do something in order to have like gamers care enough to go forth and play the style of game because when essentially ever since the success of Far Cry 3, every other iteration has tried to build off the success of Far Cry 3 by making it as much like maybe as identical not like not one for one identical, but just basically trying to recapture the same thing as Far Cry 3 over each individual iterations. It doesn't matter whether it was 4 or Primal or Far Cry 5
Blood
or
Dragon.
the spin-off for Far Cry, yeah, yeah, that game and also the spin-off for Far Cry 5 and
Oh
now
yeah,
Far
I
Cry
forgot about that
6.
Far Cry
Like,
5 spinoff. The yeah,
yeah, all
New
all of
Dawn or
those
something.
games, yeah, New Dawn. All of those games have one thing in common, in my honest opinion, is all of them are trying to chase after the thunder that was Far Cry 3 when it first released, and all of them have been, in my personal opinion, off the mark in terms of that. Could not get up to that level of excitement that Far Cry 3 didn't do that stuff. But even though they do sell, even though that they do sell, maybe not as much as what could be if they were to reinvent a lot of the aspects of Far Cry. Because here's the thing, I don't even really care if there's like another Far Cry game that's going to be coming out because this that series to me has gotten
Mm-hmm.
stale. I've played elements of Far Cry 3. Far Cry 4, there's some fun stuff that I've seen gamers play and stuff and mention from time to time. But at the same point, it's pretty much the fatigue that other Ubisoft properties have had over the recent years that have prevented other gamers, including myself, to wanting to delve into the latest entries. Assassin's Creed, stale for a long ass time, even though they got a lot of their various like open world elements and stuff. Odyssey was acclaimed, reception
Yeah.
very well and stuff like that. I mean, Origins and stuff. That was one of the first attempts they did some that differentiated itself from the whole like original like mythos or something like that, as well as like Black Flag and stuff. I mean, Origins is when they were
Yeah,
trying to
well,
just go in this open
Witcher
world sort of
3.
thing to where, yeah, Witcher 3 esque sort of thing. But yeah, you had Assassin's Creed, you had the Ghost Recon stuff, which they completely botched up with Breakpoint and stuff after them
Yeah.
putting out Wildlands. And honestly, a lot of people, including myself, we did find some enjoyment from playing like Wildlands and stuff because that definitely was a fun Ubisoft s sort of game. But it's the continuing issues that Ubisoft has had that they put out pretty much the same structure of games, the same
Mm-hmm.
type of mission structures, the same clearing points, the same locking down of territories and stuff. It's just a different it's just a different style in regards to
And
property.
they well,
It
and
doesn't
they
matter.
just put it on steroids too, where they just kind of keep making it bigger and
Yes.
bigger.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So for Far Cry 7, I have hope that it at least will have something that will be interesting when it's first announced to where it will get that lock and feel. But I feel in order for Ubisoft to do that, they have to shake up the foundation of that franchise. Because if it's another copy and paste sort of esque thing that was similar to Far Cry 3 in regards to them trying to aim for that thing, it's going to sell even worse than Far Cry 6. That's what I feel like.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's like it's the thing I always talk about when we got people talk about like sales and stuff like that. It's the game after that suffers for the game before.
Yep.
When game X is bad, it's the follow up that gets hit that suffers because of the last game. Uh,
Yes.
so yeah. I mean, it's crazy. People always talk about like their trade. Like it's the thing we've talked about, and like I hear people talk about all the time. It's like Ubisoft's tracing a trend, but it's like it's hilarious because like they created the trend. Like they're the
Yes.
ones that created this, and
And now they're chasing the trends.
yeah. It's like you guys started this, and then like you lost your way somewhere in this trend that you guys. I mean, you guys created the modern day open world game, and
Yes, they
they
did.
yeah, it's crazy. And now but then like you hear about like they have like over like a dozen battle royale games in development and another dozen like games of service games in development. It's like I don't know. I mean, I hope they can figure it out because, like I said, there's not a lot of these big studios left. They're independent. The big publishers left, I should say.
Hmm.
They're independent. So like it's people. I don't understand. It's always fun to dog on the big companies, and hey, no one loves dogging on big companies more than me. But I just understand that like hey, they're kind of important. We kind of need them. Uh, yeah. But Gables, let's move on to some other news
Hmm.
this week here. Let's talk about a
Okay.
lot of some smaller stuff going on. We have give me 1 second here. I'm trying to do time codes. There we go. Um, we have SteamWorld Builder was announced. There was the SteamWorld event that Thunderful Games was doing. That they announced. It's like a 12-minute thing. They announced that they're making their next game is SteamWorld Builder, which is like a building game. Um, there's a demo out now on PC, and I think the game's supposed to come out later this year. Um, Next up here, after Last of Us, the TV show started, sales are up over 280% for Last of Us Part 1. Um, I guess the PS5 version, the PS5 remake, is up like 230%, but the PS4 remaster is up like 300 and something percent. And this is mostly out of the UK. So, and
Okay, okay,
yeah,
it's just the
so,
UK.
but I
Got it.
mean, usually like typically like for the United States and the UK, we are on the similar like our numbers and their numbers are fairly similar as far as like the order of which sales are, but they're just like
Yeah,
as far as unit sales go, much smaller though. But yeah, so I wouldn't be shocked if that game, if we look at January NPDs and Last of Us is in the top 20. There's a Spanish leaker. I can't remember his name. I have to write it down. But he leaked the Metroid Dread stuff before Metroid Dread was announced. He's a Spanish-based
right.
leaker, which makes sense because was it Mercury Steam is the name of that made Metroid Dread One? Uh,
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
yeah.
Mercury Stream.
So he leaked about them in the past. And they're based out of Spain. Um, he kind of strongly hinted at Metroid Dread 2 is in development and as of right now set for 2025. Um, how do we feel about that one, Gables?
Makes sense because Metroid Dread was the most
Yeah,
successful, like most successfully, the most
yeah,
successful like
broke the sales record.
like
Yeah,
selling Metroid game. Yeah, it broke the sales record for Metroid franchise in terms of sales, even past the
yeah.
original Metroid Prime. So it's like, it's a no-brainer that they want to go with a sequel to that game for the Switch. But
Also nominated for Game of the Year
yeah,
for Get the Game Awards. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it got Game of the Year
yeah. I mean
nods.
that like I think last we heard it was over 3 million, but that was about a year ago. Last time we looked at sales numbers for that one, so I'm curious where it's at now. Um,
It'll definitely be
yeah,
a lot more
it's
than
probably like
that, in
I
my
wouldn't be
personal
shocked if it's like
opinion, but
around
still.
4 or 5 at this point. Um,
Mm-hmm.
WWE 2K23 is out March 17th. We talked about this last week that
Oh,
they
yeah,
accidentally
yeah.
leaked John Cena on the cover, and the date like got posted early and they quickly took it down. But the internet is the internet, and we got pictures of it. Um, Showed off. There's 4 different versions you can buy. I gotta admit, I'm not gonna buy it. I gotta admit though, that $100 version with John Cena and the Thugonomics cover looked pretty fucking sweet. If it was $100, I would buy it. But yeah, it's coming March 17th. They're gonna do like a John Cena career and everything. Like career mode stuff, which is pretty cool. Where he like beats all the people that beat him in like key moments, um, all 3 moments. But imagine he's not gonna beat CM Punk though. Um, but yeah, I don't know. We got a little bit of gameplay, not a lot, but I don't know. I mean, 2K22 was really good. I thought the Rey Mysterio mode was actually really well done, and I'd be actually really tempted to check out the John Cena mode once it comes out, but definitely gonna wait for a sale. What about you, Gibbs?
All right, I just still need to see some more gameplay of WWE
Gables, just look up some gameplay of
2K23.
2K22, and I imagine it's gonna be the same, just with updated rosters.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well,
Uh,
yeah, I understand that. What I mean by gameplay, not just like the actual match stuff, I mean like the actual selection of
oh
content
yeah,
that's
yeah,
inside this game, because the single player stuff is always important inside of a professional wrestling game. And if this is like shit, like the past couple of iterations of the WWE 2K games and stuff, that I
yeah.
won't want
Yeah,
anything
I
to
mean,
do with it.
22 people seem really happy with that one, and 23. I'm not taking a shot for the updated roster thing. I'm the guy that plays like 300 hours of Madden every year, so I can't talk shit. But it just it'd be nice to have a WWE game where half the roster in the 2K game wasn't fired by the time that game came out. Um, but moving on here. Speaking of wrestling games, AEW. Apparently they were wanting to release that in February, but they're having an issue with the ESRB where they're getting M ratings. They're trying to get down to a teen rating. Obviously, AEW is the TV 14 show, and they do more hardcore, a lot of blood, thumbtacks, like a lot more hardcore wrestling. So there's a lot more blood and gore in this game than I imagine it's like Dead Space gore, but a lot more. There's like blood. When W2K games don't do blood, they probably do like some crazier matches and stuff. Um, but yeah, they're having an issue with trying to get that game down to a teen rating. They originally, like I said, trying to get out before in February. Uh, there's been some leak right before the show actually, where someone showed a screenshot of someone at a GameStop, and there was some stuff about there's gonna be some advertising in for the game in April at like local like GameStops and stuff like that. So probably imagine
Oh,
there's it not maybe not April, but in the next couple months, sometime in that spring area, we might see that game finally come out. But definitely feels like a case where like a Callisto Protocol Dead Space thing, where hopefully it's not Callisto Protocol as far as like the game like play goes, but like where they like this is a game they desperately wanted to get out before WWE 2K comes out because WWE is just like
yep,
it's just a far bigger. Even if like AEW comes out and it's one of the best wrestling games of all time, WWE is just it's literally 13 times bigger as far as as scale goes and as far as income and revenue and all that. So um, hopefully if that game does come out, it's probably better to come out in the summer, give it a few months after WWE is like that way because if it comes out April May, the shine might still be on W2K and it might just get buried. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, anything you want to say on that one, Gables?
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I just want that game to
Yeah,
fucking release so that way I can get a chance to play it because I am definitely excited to see. I'm definitely excited to see the entire just the entire
yeah.
full product, you know. And if it releases sometime in April, like what that rumor was thinking suggested, I
Well, the
mean, more
the, the
power to it.
advertising
I mean,
push would start in April. So
well, the
yeah,
advertising push would start in April. Yeah, you're right and stuff. But if it did release towards like say the summer of this year or like towards the early fall this year, I mean, I would love to
yeah,
at least give it a
yeah.
shot.
I've been watching. I watch AEW every week, and they've been talking about that game coming soon for almost a year now. So I'm not even kidding. It's been going on since like August. They've been talking like coming soon to all your
Coming
favorite
soon.
consoles. AEW fight forever. Um, but yeah, speaking of games that have been coming soon for nearly 30 years. GoldenEye is finally out. Gables, it's on Game Pass. It's on Nintendo Switch expansion packs. Um, but
Hmm.
unfortunately, it is just the ROM of GoldenEye. Um, I thought the Game Pass version would at least get the HD remake that they finished, but
No.
Nintendo wouldn't let them put
Oh
out.
no.
But no, it is just. I thought like, hey, Nintendo, you're getting the online. Give them the remake. Come on, let's meet in the middle here. You guys all got to work together to like make this happen, and that didn't happen. So that is out now. It's on, like I said, it's on Game Pass. It's on Nintendo Switch expansion pack. So yeah, I played the first level on Game Pass. The Game Pass version at least has twin sticks. So
I'll tell you this. I tried playing it
I'm
on the
sorry.
Switch, and what's interesting about that, it's like it's not horrible in terms of the control style, but you know it's bad where you have to look up a video so you can try to look how to remap the controls and then switch the damn stick settings and have to go into the switch menu in order to try to manipulate the pro controllers like switch the left like motion of like this the left stick and stuff with the right stick in order to try to balance out how to make it feel like an actual modern
Yeah.
day shooter because I never liked this back in the
Mm-mm.
day, even when I played this on the 64, where the strafe and the movement of like going forward and backwards and stuff like that, I never got used to it because it felt so awkward. Even when I tried to play games like Time Splitters 2 on the GameCube, I had that same issue because here's the thing. Back then, even in like 2002, 2003, games like Metal Arms got that fucking thing right in terms of this twin stick shooter, like third person shooter and stuff, to where it felt natural with the camera
Yeah.
and everything else. But inside of 2023, and you don't have that option for a potential launch or something, or relaunch of like a freaking game,
Yeah.
that's preposterous. Not everyone's gonna buy your freaking $50 damn N64 controller and try to make do with your own fucking with your own fucking old school control style right here. We got twin sticks, for God's sake. It's 2023. It's modern.
I've
You
been
know.
recording with Gables for nearly a decade. It's very rare he gets mad at Nintendo about something. I'm enjoying this moment. Very welcome,
Well,
welcome to
well,
me.
yeah.
Welcome to my side, Gables. Come on over, where we just We love Nintendo, but we bitch about them constantly. Come on over, buddy. It's a good side to live
Well,
on.
that's the thing, man. It's like these are the type of decisions. These are the type of decisions and stuff from time to time where I absolutely hate in regards to what options we're presented with. Of course, they had us going through. They gave us what we wanted, which was, hey, let's play some GoldenEye on the Switch Online service. Or, hey, you know what? But in order for us to have the services, we're going to get the exclusive things for
Yeah.
the online, And
The
so you have
shittiest
to
way to play
somehow piece
online.
together you had to piece together the control styles of this game in order to play online with your friends, probably with friends you probably haven't played GoldenEye in
Yeah.
forever with, or even with friends you have like across across the United States or wherever and stuff, and then you're left with the experience of a split screen multiplayer game on your screen and an online menu to where everybody knows where the fuck everybody else is at, as well as trying to manipulate their freaking trying to make sense of like the freaking camera orientations and stuff. It's gonna be like I'm kidding it to how if say you're trying to teach your parents how to play a first
Oh,
person shooter for
yeah,
a
that'd be
first
awful.
time, right? To where they will go through maybe be able to move the character, but it's so hypersensitive in terms of how they move the camera. It's like every which way. It's like they don't even know how to freaking go. That's why, and I kid you not, listeners, and those that will view this video, or if we do a potential video in this regards, this is why games back in the day, especially on the 64, had options for auto aim because they knew back then that you could not you could not adequately get a precision base shot off without a freaking mouse and keyboard, because it's like if that option were to have been available, say on the 64 at that time, it would have made the experience excellent. Not only just for that, but also for Perfect Dark as well. But even Microsoft, when they did Rare Replay, restructured that entire control scheme to make it feel like a modern first person shooter. And I give a great accolades to Rare and Microsoft for allowing that to happen. And also, a big accolade thing that I would like to give to Microsoft about it is for those that own Rare Replay digitally, not physically, because heaven forbid that you actually have the physical copy of the goddamn game. Digitally, you actually have on your list, on your library, the option to download GoldenEye 007 free of charge. I mean, that's freaking awesome. I mean, even it has modern controls. I have not played the freaking game on the Xbox, my Xbox One, but it sucks that I can't play online with the
Right?
game because of exclusivity stuff for Nintendo because they don't want to
Assholes.
play ball. But you also get well, hell, at least you'll have some option to go forth and finish it single player wise without having to struggle with the goddamn controls for about a half an hour, like I did trying to play GoldenEye 007. Oh, I literally played like about an hour of this game. That's the thing. I literally played about an hour of this game, and like 40 minutes of it was spent trying to meticulously rearrange how I could go and freaking move my character without like shooting off like cross-eyed.
This is fantastic. I love this. It's funny to me that one of the most popular Nintendo games of all time um, was treated better by Xbox than Nintendo. Uh,
Absolutely. It's a rare
it
thing
is a
that
rare thing.
happened.
Rare made it. You're right. Um, yeah.
No pun intended.
um, that's, that was. This is like a top 10
Okay.
moment for me though. Gables, can we just admit the N64 controller is bad? Yo, oh
Yes.
my God!
Yes.
Yes!
I do admit
Oh!
that. I mean, it's a controller that we had to deal with back in the day because Nintendo did not want to fucking add another analog stick because they didn't want to get copyright things from PlayStation during that time
This is the
frame.
greatest moment of my life.
And they made and instead of doing a twin stick stuff, they go with the GameCube controller, which hey, I love the GameCube controller. But even they had problems with trying to accurately move the camera with the damn C stick. They still had to make it like the fucking
Oh
C
man,
buttons.
this is like a
I still have a lot of
Yeah.
nostalgia with the controller. I
Uh,
mean, oh, I mean, hell.
this is the top 10 favorite moments in of this podcast history for me. Uh, oh man, if there's any other Nintendo group that says Gables, don't hold back, please. Um, but moving on here. We talked about a couple weeks ago. There was the rumor of the Discord update finally coming to PlayStation, where you can use Discord to chat with your friends and cross play
Hmm.
here, cross console, cross platform, stuff like that. That is apparently going to happen on March 8th, so not too far out. Um, yeah.
Good.
Finally. But Gables, I gotta pee really bad. Tell me about talk about this Kadabra is back in Pokemon trade card game. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, listeners, let's go back in time to the 1990s where Pokemon was in its infancy and it had a trading card game. Long ago, there was this hypnotist, or no, this psychic, this dude, and I'm just bringing up the article here right now, but back then, Pokemon was such a popular thing that there were specific people or like other type of entities that are trying to either capitalize off the success or trying to sue Nintendo because of their likenesses being akin to like a certain Pokemon character. Enter in Kadabra. Kadabra is one of those Pokemon that was like one of those psychic type Pokemon that had dual spoons, like pretty much can move like things with its mind and all this other shit. But back then, there was this one there was this one psychic that oh god, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the damn article here right at this moment in time because I put it inside of her notes and let's see. Oh yes, here's the name of the person here. It was Yuri Geller. Yuri Geller was the one that thought that Nintendo's portrayal of Kadabra was more akin to him because he initially had a style that he thought was reminiscent of like what Kadabra does inside the games and the TCG and like whatever the hell. And so for that, Nintendo did not put Kadabra on the Pokemon TCG cards for like over 30 years. Now let's put this into perspective here. So meaning that Kadabra, the Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam line and stuff, well, actually, no, I think it's just Kadabra in general, which is not on any type of trading card releases since, like, I want to say the original set, the original TCG stuff. I may be wrong with that, but still, it was an incredibly long time for one Pokemon card to not be printed because of other types of shit. And the reasoning why it's finally coming back. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. After like a 20-year absence, it's coming back in July, apparently. And the reasoning is because Yuri Geller pretty much said he was a fool to ban it. So it's like all these years later, he just basically just said, you know what? It's like I don't understand why I'm gonna fucking ban this. And just basically that's how it pretty much came back into be. But looking at the games radar article right here, it's like the evolution hadn't been seen in the Pokemon trading card game since 2002. Okay, so that was much later than I initially cited for. I thought it was just the initial release, but no, 2002. And Yuri Geller was an illusionist that was suing Nintendo at the time. He claimed that it was unauthorized take on his likeness. He had a change in heart in 2020. So that's why he released the ban and stuff. So now Nintendo can actually make money off of printing Kadabra cards. I know it's a little bit long winded, but bear in mind, listeners, it's incredibly late at night. It's just one of those type of days where, yeah, here and there. But at the same time, I thought it was a fun little blurb to actually go forth and talk about.
Yeah. Sorry here. I was just looking at the next one here. So next up here though, Gables, U.S. Marines
Hmm.
use the Metal Gear Solid box trick to trick AI. Um, so I heard about
Oh
this a
my
couple weeks
gosh.
ago. So yeah, so um, obviously the army building AI stuff like that. Um, so to test out some of the stuff, guards actually hid in um, uh, cardboard boxes to to hide from AI military systems and sneak past them. Um, and yeah, they say you get nothing from video games, Gables. Um,
Oh, may I read an excerpt from the Twitter post
okay.
from this dude? Because this is absolutely hysterical for me. So basically, they the reason why the reason why these Marines were going to like cardboard boxes and stuff, they were trying to fool this AI system from recognizing them, right? And so here's an excerpt that was posted on Twitter by Shashank Joshny, Joshi,
Shashank
or
Josh,
something.
yeah, I'll go with that one.
Yeah. And so on the seventh day, I said, "We're done. We're flipping it." Now the Marines would try to defeat the AI system. They parked the robot in the middle of a traffic circle, and the Marines had to approach it undetected, starting from a long distance away. If any Marines could get all the way in and touch this robot without being detected, they would win. I wanted to see, game on, what would happen. 8 Marines, not a single one got detected, Phil said. They defeated the AI system not with traditional camouflage, but with clever tricks that were outside of the AI system's testing regime. Two somersaulted for 300 meters, never, never got detected. Two hid under a cardboard box. You could hear them giggling the whole time. Let's see. Yeah, giggling the whole time. Like Bugs Bunny in a Looney Tunes cartoon, sneaking up on an Elmer Fudd in a cardboard box. One guy, my favorite, Phil said, he he field stripped a fir tree and walked like a fir tree. You can see his smile, and that's about all you can see. The AI system had been trained to detect humans walking, not humans somersaulting, hiding in a cardboard box, or disguised as a tree. So these simple tricks, which a human would have easily seen through, were sufficient to break the algorithm. Hence why the whole U.S. Marines using cardboard boxes to sneak.
I love that. Love that. It's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, like I said, my mom always said you wouldn't get anything from video games. Psh, kidding me? Tricking AI. Um, this is good to know when they eventually take over. Maybe hopefully that method still works when Terminator becomes real. Um, yeah, I read that. I thought that was absolutely fucking hilarious. Um, but yeah, I well, the funniest part about that story is in there is that you know who was there to like the head person there for all that Gables, the DARPA chief,
What?
which that's a Metal Gear Solid One reference
Yes,
for you people. Yeah,
the
he was the
DARPA
one
chief.
there to supervise the whole thing, um, which makes it even funnier. But moving on here,
Hmm.
Gables. Um, we got reviews finally for Forspoken and Dead Space that we talked about. Last week,
Yep.
you and I we had a little competition of who can get the
Yep.
closest in our Open Critic scores. Well, Gables,
Okay.
you were wrong. You son of a bitch. Dead Space.
Hmm.
You said 77. I said 86. And 90.
That
And
surprised the hell
90.
out of me.
Yeah. The original game I think was an 84. I figured it'd be a little higher. That's why I hit it. I said 86, but
Hmm.
did not expect a 90. Forspoken Gables, you said 65. I said 74. And I admittedly was I even said time. I'm just trying to be optimistic about this game to 70.
Hmm.
Um, so that was very close. We basically cut that one right down the middle on that one.
We pretty much cut
Yeah.
that one down the middle in that regards, but I'll just say this. I'm completely surprised by the Dead Space remake because we've seen aspects before where remakes can go horribly wrong, and EA does not have a good track record when it comes to like a lot of recent
Yeah.
releases.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think they're getting better. It takes two and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Um, definitely been getting. I think they're like we're starting to see a big change from them. On that side of the fence, where there's we're I mean, obviously they still have Madden, FIFA, all that shit. But Gables, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to
Uh,
apologize to my copy of Forspoken for giving it a 65.
yeah, it's not
Put some
gonna happen.
respect on its name. The game of the year for 2023 Forspoken. I apologize.
This comes from the same man that went through and say after you saw Hi-Fi Rush is like, well, fuck for smoking.
I did not say that. There's no proof. There's no proof of that. I'm gonna have to cut that out. Right. I forgot I did that.
You think I don't
God
watch,
damn
but
it.
I
This is
watch.
why I shouldn't record everything I do. Um, I, I,
I think your words point blank was like, well,
yeah,
for smoking is
I threw
fucked.
my copy of the game across the room. Yeah, that was not a. Gables. I was in the. I was. In, it was in the moment. I can't.
Oh.
I can't. Can't expect me to be
Uh,
100 all the time. It's exhausting. Uh, wow. Don't throw my arguments in my face. Son of a bitch. Uh, but last but not least, here, Gables. There's been some more murmurs here that
mhm,
there might be a Nintendo Direct here soon, early February. Um,
mm,
obviously, always take that shit with a grain of salt. But I will say,
yep.
typically when like key people, now obviously there's always like Reddit, so like you can go on there, you can always find rumors of a Nintendo Direct. But I feel like when you see certain people talking about um, directs, I would say almost every single time they are correct. But the only thing with Nintendo Direct sometimes is like they hear a direct, but they can never say if it's a full blown direct, maybe it's an indie direct, maybe it's a third party
Hmm.
direct, maybe it's a mini direct.
Right.
It could be there's 17 style directs nowadays. Um, but yeah, so apparently we might be hearing about one of those maybe next week, maybe early next week. We might get some news about one. I personally hope if we can do it anywhere between the 6th and the 10th, because I'm off that week, I'd really appreciate it so I
Yeah.
can be home and watch it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm obviously directs are always must watch TV, must watch streaming, whatever you want to call it. And we don't really have any idea about what's coming. We have after Tears of the Kingdom. What we got Pikmin 4, and there's the Fire Emblem remake that is apparently in the works or possibly done. That could be coming out either later this year or most likely next year.
Mm.
But other than that, I mean, and Metro Prime 4. That's all we have. So yeah, I mean, Gills, how you feel about a direct? Looks like potentially in the next week or two.
It's a strong possibility that it may be within a week or two. I mean, Nintendo's Online, they usually do have a February direct in regards to
Yeah,
showcasing some new releases or something. There's also little key elements to where this past week people that have been keeping track of specific games that have been updating on the
yeah,
eShop have
yeah.
noticed like changes in regards to Legend of Zelda,
Is
like
Advance
Tears of the
Wars I
Kingdom,
think was in there
and
as well.
Advanced
Yeah,
Wars Reboot Camp.
yeah,
So it could be likely that we could see elements of both of those games showcased in the next Nintendo Direct,
yeah,
but that's just speculation at this point.
yeah.
But what I would personally like to see, I would love to see this Nintendo Direct have clear updates upon not just Reboot Camp, because that game it's been done for a hell of a long time. I
There's
would love
physical
to.
copies literally sitting in warehouses for over a year now, for
Yeah,
nearly a year
exactly
now.
the point.
Yeah,
I want to play that damn game. I
yeah.
want some Advance Wars. But
Gables, I paid that game off in June 2020. No, 2021. I paid for that game. My
oh,
copy's
I
in a
know.
warehouse somewhere. I want it.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I'm hoping to see updates in regards to Advance Wars. Maybe in regards to Metroid, I'm gonna be like real here. I'm not sure if they will showcase updates for Metroid, but I'm just gonna be like just have my expectations low. I want to at least see some updates for Advance Wars Reboot Camp. But
Metroid Prime remake.
in terms of the date, I mean, Nintendo could do early February. They could also do like towards the end of the month, or they could just do something entirely different altogether. I mean, you can't really rule out those
Yeah,
possibilities. But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Nintendo has ever since Reggie retired and Iwata passed. They've kind of really post Reggie like um, they've always had we know their tendencies. There's always the January February direct. There was the
Hmm.
E3 direct, and there's like the September direct, were like the three big ones. And then you maybe get the smaller ones in between there, but the big three were always then. And I would say the last 3 years, 4 years, they have broken that tendency where yeah, well sometimes we'll go. I mean, it's just been pretty random. But I
Hmm.
hope maybe we get back on track on tendencies, post COVID and all that, and then But also, we're at this. We're really at the. I mean, who knows when the next Switch is going to happen or the next Nintendo whatever will be. But we're at the end of that. We're at the end of the generation here. We got another year, probably year and a half at most with this thing. Um, so maybe they're just gonna wait until the next thing is out and announced before they start showing off new games. But I don't know,
Hence why they're racking up production in regards to the Switch system,
which
even
is
though it's
weird.
it's on its 6 year thin.
Yeah, I mean, because we're going into I guess it would be year 8 and on after um after March, so on the market. So yeah, it's weird because like they're gonna make more Switches next fiscal year than they did this fiscal year, which is crazy. So that tells me
Yeah,
that we're probably not gonna get a new Switch until late next year. So which sucks
yeah,
because I just give me a Switch with backwards compatibility. But Gables, we're going long here. Let's
yeah,
go into what we've been playing.
got it.
Um, I've only been playing really one game. Like I said, I bought Forspoken. I got Hi-Fi Rush, but those two I want to save until I go on vacation next week because yeah, I want to need something to do. And it's February, it's cold, all that fun shit. But Gables, I've been playing Dead Space remake. Um, yeah,
How long?
how long?
Yeah, how long have you been playing it?
A little over 7 hours. I'm
A little over 7 hours?
yeah,
Okay, so you're much further than I am.
yeah, I'm close. I'm at the very last part of chapter 8 or chapter 7, so I'm
Good.
pretty close to chapter 8 here. Um, yeah. I love Dead Space 1, 2, and 2 more than 1. 1 was survival horror, 2 was more actiony, but still survival horror. 3 was Resident Evil 5. And I still defend Dead Space 3, even though I admit it's a bad Dead Space game, but it's still a good. It's a solid 7.5 out of 10 game. It's a 5 out of 10 Dead Space game. If that makes sense. Um, and I like the change. Like they made like, this isn't just a straight remake, and this isn't. I'm not saying this isn't like Final Fantasy 7 remake either, but it's closer to that than it is a Dead Space 08 remake, or a Dead Space 08 game. Where they've actually expanded upon the Ishimura. There's new areas. There's like clearance levels. There's different rooms to go in. There's different there's things you can't get. You have to get clearance levels. Like there's 1, 2, 3, and maximum I believe
Yeah.
is the fourth one. Um, and everything they turn it into just a Metroidvania. Um,
Yes, I did.
so I really like that. Like they changed the story as well, where now Isaac talks. He didn't talk in the first one. He only talked 2 and 3. They brought back the original voice actor, which is really cool. Um, and they actually changed the story around where in the first game, like was it Unitology? I think is the name of the religion. I can't remember what it is. Something like that though. Where you really didn't, if I remember correctly, because I beat Dead Space when it first came out in '08, and then I
Hmm.
replayed it again right before Dead Space 2, I believe, came out, like 2010, I want to say, maybe. Um, so it's been about close to 13 years now. Um, but they've changed around the storyline where like the religions, all the stuff with the marker and everything. Like, I'm not gonna try to spoil anything, but and the first like you
Yeah.
learn about that shit early on in Dead Space Remake, so that's not really a spoiler. Like they talk about that literally like the beginning of the game. In the first game, the original game, you didn't learn about that shit until like if I remember correctly, the very end of that game. So they're definitely changing the
Hmm.
storyline around a little bit, kind of like Resident Evil 2. Actually, I would say it's closer to Resident Evil 2, the Resident Evil remakes, and then the like if you're going to compare the remakes 1 to 1 here. Um, where like they're changing around the storyline, but which I like, especially the fact that Isaac talks. He doesn't talk a lot. It's not goofy. It's not bad. I think it's really good. He's not like people were. I heard people were concerned about it, and it works totally fine. It actually makes more sense because it's like I always think that the silent protagonist thing is always kind of weird in games, um, especially when there's voice acting. It makes it even weirder. Um, but yeah, I like the like I said, I like the changes. I like what they did with in the first game where like there's zero gravity sections where like you can float around, you can actually but you can actually free flow around areas in this game. But like in the original one, like in Dead Space 1, you had to kind of look at where you wanted to go, and you kind of almost point and shoot,
Hmm.
and then you launch to that area and you go back. And that's how you moved around these zero gravity. And this one, like in this one, like Dead Space 2 changed it where you can free flow around. This added that as well. The gameplay is fantastic. It's more I would say it's
Absolutely, it
more
is.
Dead Space 2 than 1, or it's more actiony. than Dead Space One. What the original Dead Space One was, but it's still survival horror. Like I'm always, um, every shot, every bullet matters. I'm playing the game on regular difficulty and medium, um, but like I'm definitely like I've always got bullets, but I'm always like I'm not like flush with bullets. I always have room in my inventory, but I'm never like I never have a ton of room in my inventory. Um,
Hmm.
but like I love like they had like side quests stuff like that that kind of like add to the narrative. I love that stuff. I love like the first game had voice logs and text logs, but like there's they just kind of built the world of like the story of the Ishimura more than before, where like it feels, like obviously like it's up there with like Spencer Mansion and Resident Evil One, I think, in like in the Dead Space One, and I feel like they've really added to it. Um, like I said, like with the extended voice logs, like the text logs you can find, the side missions, learning more about what happened in some of these areas. I think like overall like all the additions they've done are additions. They're actually like really
Hmm.
well made additions. They're not just like let's tap what's not they're not just shoving in a couple more hours of like optional gameplay here like to make this game longer. There are actually like this stuff actually you could skip if you want to, but it's not just force fed in there to like make this game artificially longer. Like this stuff is actually well made. The side quests are actually pretty well done. The way that the map actually like kind of feeds to each other. Like I mean, it's a really well made Metroidvania game where like all these locked doors you couldn't get to before. Now all of a sudden like you can just get in totally fine, or like oh my god, like I'm here now. Like how the fuck did I like I how the fuck did I get here? Like it's like oh shit, like now I'm in the mining area or I'm in the engineering or whatever. And it's like oh it's right here before like before like getting there was like a journey. Now it's just like now you're here. So yeah, like I think like I said, the changes they made have been really well done. Um, yeah, so I'm blown away. It is better. I mean, like I was concerned a little bit, like not like overly concerned about it, but like a little concerned about it. Sorry, I'm fixing my OBS here. It's kind of acting funny on me for audio listeners, but yeah, like I said, like I heard they're making changes to it. There's like I guess like a secret ending you can get. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's gonna add, but yeah, I've just been blown away. It's like I talk about like I don't understand why Callisto Protocol like I feel like got kind of railroaded a little bit more than it should have been. But like I was lucky enough. I played it on the PlayStation where that was like the one version that was actually like seemed like it was done. It wasn't like and like where like the Xbox version and the PC version were like buggy messes and stuff, and the PlayStation version was actually like sounds like complete for the most part. Um, but yeah, it's just like man, like no, like th- it's just been too long for me since I had played a really great survival horror game, because this just blows that away. Where like I mean like even though it's kind of scary at points, I am I'm so hooked to like I want to keep exploring. I want to like oh I'm gonna like I'm going from section to section. I'm like I want to like like you can hit the R3 button and it'll show you like the path to get to like your next area that you need to go to. Um, and it's like I love that because like the second game had that. Dead Space 2 had that. Dead Space 1 didn't. I love that because I'll hit that and like okay, I'm supposed to go right, but I can also go left. So I'm like I'm gonna go left now instead of right because I go explore. So like I'm going to like every nook and cranny. I'm going to every room I can get into. I'm as like I'm upgrading clearances and stuff like that. I am going back and I'm exploring the areas that I couldn't get into before. With because I like there's all these rooms and shit you can get to. Some of the annoying stuff though was like uh, there are like random lockers you can't get into. Which I kind of don't like. I kind of like, just make doors I can't get into because it kind of sucks. Cause like you can look on your map and see what doors you couldn't like that are now open that aren't before, but I can't look on the map and see like there's this locker or this random like drawer or something I couldn't open before. Like that didn't show up on the map. So it's like now I'm like, okay, well, did I get everything in this room? So like now I'm like, that's the one like frustration I have. Is like I'm backtracking. I'm wasting time because now I'm backtracking to areas. Just in case like, well, maybe I missed something here. Maybe I should go look over here because I couldn't open this form. Maybe I could open it now. And it's like, oh, I've got everything here. So I've definitely wasted a lot of time doing that. I kind of wish that was like kind of like how the Resident Evil remakes do, where like the I don't maybe they do and I just missed it, but like in the Resident Evil remakes, like when you look on the map, it'll change colors once you found everything in it. I think it changes like the map turns blue in that room, meaning you 100% of that room. I wish this game did that as well because I feel like like I said I feel like I'm wasting a lot. Not a ton of time, but I probably wasted a good 45 minutes of this of my game time, just wandering around unnecessarily. Then you also like because like the game is, um, like it's not just like standard like okay there's always a guy here, there's always a guy there, like backtracking, enemies pop up randomly, so it's like I'm like not only am I like just walking around not finding resources and wasting my time, now I'm using resources because I'm getting in gunfights and or I'm using health because I got hit, shit like that. So but I mean whatever, it's not like these are like they're nitpicks at this point. But yeah, play Dead Space, fucking love it. Can't wait to get back to it. Probably honestly, if Royal Rumble wasn't tonight, I probably would have beat the game today. So yeah, but Gables, what have you been playing, buddy?
Well, to piggyback off of the Dead Space stuff, I did play a little over an hour, like about an hour, 20 minutes or so of Dead Space on Chapter 2. I'm definitely loving the visual styling of it. I love the pace, the atmosphere of it, how they were able to recreate the feel and also improve upon the pacing and like the tense atmosphere that the original Dead Space had. I love the improvements in regards to the gameplay portion, and especially like the additions in regards to being interactable for certain parts, like with certain objects and stuff in the beginning portion of the game. I'm already noticing those boxes that were in the previous game, like inside the original game, stuff you couldn't break or you couldn't get into certain lockers. You can do that now, and you can actually gather more credits and more like ammo stuff. It was That was cool. I love that aspect of it because I was able to upgrade certain things faster than what I would have normally do in that case and scenario. I actually have like the level 2 suit currently. I was predominantly focusing upon the plasma cutter. I got the other weapon not too long ago from that one Marine that died,
Is it
but at that
is it the
same,
Ripper or the Flamethrower?
I think it's the
Okay.
Ripper or something like that. I think it's the Ripper, but yeah, I definitely have loved going through each section, each corridor and stuff, and either getting flanked from behind from necromorphs or like just being like trying to get these random jump scares. I already knew about how some necromorphs could like pretend to be dead on the ground or
Yeah.
something. You just walk next to them or something like that, and they just pop up to life and do all this other like hide and flank sort of s type of stuff. The only time I actually died in this game so far is because I went off the beaten path and went into the biochemistry lab instead of going to the main thing and going into like getting into a situation to where I'm facing 4 or 5 of those freaking necromorphs at one point with my plasma cutter. Because well, I didn't use the plasma cutter. I used the new weapon thing, and oh, okay, this will definitely mow down these things. And like I'm like, no, no. It just basically took a little bit more in regards to aiming this thing, but the power of it was not as good as like what the plasma cutter was for the damage improvement node that I put in it and like the capacity stuff I'm playing so far. And with that, I could not get to Fire Emblem Engage because I literally was playing this game, Fire Emblem, not this Dead Space remaster and like remake and stuff, on top of a couple other games that I wanted to focus upon to get them out of the way before even starting on either Dead Space or Fire Emblem Engage. I finished up a couple different Mega Man games, Mega Man 4, Mega Man 5. I wanted to get those out of the way first. And for Mega Man 6, I've beaten all the Robot Masters originally. I just need to go through the wild, like the Dr. X stages or like all these other the final stages in regards to finishing up that game. From my initial impressions going through like Mega Man 4 and 5, 4, it's a good game at the same time, but it's not as strong as say some of the other games I played before. If I had to rank it at that point, I'd put Mega Man 4 at the bottom, then 1, then 3, and then 2 being the top. After playing Mega Man 5 and stuff, Mega Man 5 was definitely a good improvement in regards to just the weapon selection, the way you can go and start and beat a lot of the different enemies with just the regular Mega Buster was definitely fun. Like that whole element to where you have you're facing off against Proto Man, like supposedly Proto Man going rogue and all this other stuff, and then going through extra stages beyond that. Little fun fact in regards to the Mega Man games for the NES, it always goes back to Dr. Wily in some form. But in regards to the variety of the Robot Masters and how fun some of those weapons were, I mean, I definitely would say this is like right below Mega Man 3 in terms of my enjoyment. So it's like in regards to the original 6 so far, Mega Man 2 is definitely the one I enjoy the most because that was my first Mega Man game that I really got a good use of just wanting to play over and over a game, over and over again. The original's fun and stuff, but it's like lower down the list, so it's like 2, 3, 5, then you have the original, and then 4. But like I was saying, I'm still going to be finishing up Mega Man 6 fairly soon. I wanted to get it done before the end of the month, at least, because I know I'm not going to return back to that thing if I continue more with other games. But the one I did finish this week was that Pikachu run I had in Pokemon Yellow. That one had me go like about 13 and a half hours at least inside this playthrough because I knew for a fact I would not be able to speed run through this game and try to beat the Elite Foreign champion at like a lower level. And let me tell you, this was definitely a hard mode style of run. The ones that I had the most difficulty were against people like trainers that had rock type Pokemon. So obviously Brock was difficult. Obviously the fights with Giovanni was difficult from Team Rocket. His Rhyhorn, his freaking like oh god, Rhydon and stuff like that, and even Nido King and Nido Queen towards the end portion of that game. The last time I faced off against Giovanni for that final gym battle, yeah, that was tough as well. But in regards to Pikachu's moves in Pokemon Yellow, you definitely have some more options in regards to what you can use, but you're pretty much left to try to think of creatively how to get around certain Pokemon because of them like pretty much blocking your path in terms of advancement. Brock was such a gym leader that did that for the early game. I had to level up Pikachu to level 19 in order to even have enough damage to get rid of Geodude and Onyx, even though they were like 2 levels lower than they were in Red and Blue. Misty was fine. Surge was fine. Like Erica was fine going through those just those gym leaders and stuff. Thinking on one night stand, I went through, like, completed the Lavender Town stuff, beat Erica the gym leader, and then go through Saffron City and just beat this like the whole Splish company and stuff with the split Rocket take over the Splish company. But gosh, let's see, rival number five for rival number five battle and stuff was hard, was definitely hard because of Sand Slash. Let me tell you something. Inside Red and Blue, the rival would lead off with either a Pidgeotto or like Pidgeot, depending upon what portion of the game. Inside of Yellow, it's a Sand Slash. And let me tell you something. Sand Slash don't mess around because this thing is bulky and this thing can hit you hard with Earthquake. And to be perfectly honest, it was definitely one of those Pokemon that kept on appearing throughout my entire playthrough, and especially at the end with the final battle against Blue. It took me it took me like a good 7 attempts to beat the Elite Four and Champion to actually beat Pokemon Yellow. And what was interesting about that is I had to come out with a move set to beat those. So what I ended up doing was taking it back a little bit to the Giovanni fight. I had to have Pikachu learn Reflect. I had Thunder. I had Body Slam, and I had Double Team. All these moves I probably, for the vast majority of these moves I wouldn't have normally used. Double team for upping my evasion, like Thunder, even though it's like a 70% hit rate, meaning I guaranteed to at least miss about 3 times out of 10. I hate that type of statistic, but that's why I've always used moves like Thunderbolt or Flamethrower over the bigger power moves because they're more reliable. Okay, But with Giovanni, I would open up with Reflect, and I would be able to whittle down things in regards to taking out some of his harder type of Pokemon. I still think, when I think about it, I got Pikachu up to the late 60s, early 70s before I beat Giovanni. I decided to do a bit of grinding in regards to beating all the other NPCs I could. From my knowledge, I think I beat every single NPC before going off to the Elite Four and Champion, collecting all the rare candies that I did throughout my journey. I collected about a total of 10. I think there's like 12 in all hidden throughout that game, but I managed to find most. I was like in the early 70s. I defeated the first member of the Elite Four fairly easily. She usually has water and ice type Pokemon, so that wasn't a difficult task. What was a difficult task was facing off against Bruno because he starts off with Onyx, and literally by using Body Slam, it'll only do like maybe a little chunk of damage. We're talking about a level 53 Pokemon and stuff. My Pikachu's already like in the 70s, but it cannot do any freaking physical damage because of how high up Onyx's defense was. So that forced me to try to be a little bit more creative in terms of my move choices. So what I ended up having to do is I got rid of Reflect, actually taught, oh God, I actually taught a move. No, I taught Pikachu Thunderbolt because I saved a bunch of different TMs with the moves that I'd have. So got Thunderbolt. I decided to delete another move for the fighting move Submission, which does damage to Pikachu. And then I think I kept like double team and stuff, and then another move in that regard. So I think, yeah, I just kept Thunder there just because of like a option or something like that up until like the final battle. But using submission to take out his Onyx, both of his Onyx and stuff, that was the key thing that I needed to do for that battle. Agatha, the third member of the Elite Four, Agatha and stuff, those ghost type Pokemon, I learned real quick. It didn't matter whether I was in the early 70s or if I was used all my rare candies inside the 80s and stuff. I could not one hit KO either of Gengars with like freaking Thunder. So I deleted that freaking Thunder move for like Mimic and kept Thunderbolts. I consistently, even throughout all my runs, I consistently got through the first three Elite Four members. Lance was the one was the most difficult, and the reason why is because of fucking Aerodactyl. And let me tell you, Aerodactyl, rock flying type, never use a normal type move against freaking Aerodactyl because it's resistive. And if you cannot beat it within either a hit or two, it'll just take you out with Hyper Beam. So what I ended up having to do is teach Pikachu a move I never usually use, and that's Mimic. And what does Mimic do? In Generation 1, it allows you to choose one of four of your opponent's moves. So in this case, I decided to copy Lance's second Dragonair because it knows the move Ice Beam. So I copied Ice Beam and I used Ice Beam to not only take out Aerodactyl in one hit, but also took out his Dragonite in one hit. That took me about three or four attempts in order to figure out, oh hey, I don't use Mimic on the first Dragonair or on Gyarados. I just use it on the third one and just do it that way. And even after I figured out how to do that, I still lost to a freaking champion the first time because of the freaking Sand Slash. But it was a bunch of like trial and error stuff. I basically got Pikachu up to like 91. 91 is the level that I used in order to get to the Elite Four and champion and stuff. And I literally had to go forth finally and break a few rules that I had posed upon myself. One, I healed in the middle of the final battle with full restore and stuff because I got to his nine tails. I look at this thing, it's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm using a full restore. Like, fuck you. You're not knocking me out with this damn nine tails. So so I go ahead, I knock out his nine tails with a good solid Thunderbolt. And then the last Pokemon's Jolteon. Because I've been beating the rival. I beat the rival all throughout the thing. And so how many times you win or lose against the rival in Pokemon Yellow determines the final Pokemon, which is either one of the three evolutions: Jolteon, Flareon, or Vaporeon. If you keep consistently winning repeatedly against the rival, he'll automatically have Jolteon. Whereas if you lose every bit, it'll have Flareon as the last one. Or if you do a balance of like win lose, you'll get Vaporeon as the final thing. It's it was kind of like a weird thing back then. But needless to say, Jolteon was incredibly easy to knock out with Pikachu because at that point I'm like, okay, well, time to use submission and then like just go through with that. And that's how I ended up beating Pokemon Yellow with just Pikachu. It was definitely not something I would recommend to somebody if you don't have a lot of patience and also if you don't like using Pikachu in general. But I've always wanted to do this since I was a kid. I had Pokemon Yellow when it first came out. My mom bought me the limited edition like Game Boy Color alongside the Pokemon Yellow. I was kind of hilarious back in the day because that was the only way I could actually play Pokemon Yellow back then. I really wanted Pokemon Yellow, so okay, I'm gonna buy you this Game Boy and stuff. And all of a sudden, like about a couple weeks later, Mom looks inside. They had a copy of Pokemon Yellow. I was like, God damn it! But yeah, man, that's pretty much that is what I had been playing this week. And at the same time, man, it's like I will get to games like Fire Emblem and like play more Dead Space. I will finish up Mega Man 6. I just need to get my times and get everything else all balanced in a row, and I'm gonna get it all done.
All right. Well, very cool, Gables. I get it. I've been in a gamer like gaming funk. I always go into like gaming funk, uh, like end of the year, beginning of the next year, and
Yep,
I think Dead Space finally kind of got me out of that funk. So
there you go.
sometimes you just need a good game to get you out of that funk. But
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this week, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you like all that, please, like I said at the top of the show, please look in the description down below. If you're watching on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever we are on them, please like, follow, subscribe, 5 stars, reviews, share, tell your friends. Look down in the description, click those links. Go to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, um, YouTube, all that stuff. Really, like I said, really appreciate it if you do all that for us. Um, but I've been your host. I've been Tyler.
I've been Colonel Gables. Until next time, everyone. Thank you for listening to another fun-filled episode of the Drunk Nerds
And hey,
podcast.
Gables,
Yep.
apologize.
Yeah,
All
no.
right.
Let's not say we did.
I won't. Forspoken, game of the year. Bye, guys.
See ya.